Hello, my name is Roisin and welcome back to my channel. So spring is here, as you can see from my lovely floral display behind me. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you will know that I love anything seasonal and I love checking in with my reading goals. So I thought that this might be an opportunity to create a booktube tag video, kind of combining those two things. So there is already a mid-year freakout tag and an end of the year tag, but there is no end of the first quarter reading tag as far as I can tell. So I created this, the quarter year crisis tag. I love to check in every 3 months about my goals to keep myself on track, and I know that other people do too, so I thought I would create this tag video. I'll tag some people in the description down below. I've never created a tag before, so this is a first for me, but I hope you enjoy. Loosely based on those two other tags that I mentioned, with some other things thrown in as well. And if you would like to do this, please do tag me in it or let me know that you've done it, because I would love to see. The questions will be in the description as well, so let me know. And if you don't have a channel but you want to do it on your Instagram or in the comments, I would love to see that as well. Generally speaking, I would not do a tag like this until after the first 3 months of the year, so the end of March or the beginning of April, but since I want other people to join in, I thought I would do this a bit early. Another reason why I wanted to make this tag was because I feel like sometimes when we make all of this sort of wrap-up content towards the end of the year, which obviously I've just been making 2 months ago, the books that start off earlier in the year don't get as much love and they don't get as much attention shined on them because it's already been 12 months by that point. So there are some sort of books that were quite good but weren't your absolute favourites that you don't necessarily talk about as much. So I thought it might be nice to give some of those early reads more of a chance to shine. So the first question is, how many books have you read so far this year? And my answer for that is 25 books. So hopefully by the end of March I will have read a few more, but I am trying to read fewer books this year than last year. That was one of my goals, to try and chill out on the amount of reading I was doing, because I was getting a bit stressed about it. So I think 25 is pretty good. If I did do that every 3 months for the rest of the year, I'd get to 100, but like I said, it's not actually the end of March yet, so I imagine I will be a bit higher by the end of March. Question number 2 is, have you already found a book that you think might be a 2022 favourite? So obviously most of us booktubers make our favourites of the year at either the end of December or the beginning of January, talking about the books we'd read in the previous year. But sometimes you get an inkling very early on about a book that you think will be a favourite and you have loved so much. So for me, I so far haven't actually given out any 5 stars this year, and I would hope to before I chose something as my favourite of the year. I don't know what it is. Maybe I've been being a bit grumpy and a bit stingy with my star ratings. But so far I haven't. So the question also says, if you haven't found a book that might be a 2022 favourite, what was your favourite book you read that wasn't quite 5 stars? So for me, the favourite book that I read was probably I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. I read this when I was reading classics, which I'll leave that vlog linked in the cards above if you'd like to go and watch it. And I really enjoyed it. Well, enjoyed feels like the wrong word, because this is Maya Angelou's autobiography. It's the first in her series of 7, and they're kind of sort of semi-fictionalized. This one is the first one, so it follows her from when she was born up until the age of 15, following her life living with her grandma and her uncle in the American South in the 1930s, I think, and then across to California to meet her dad and her mum at various different time periods, and the things that and also to St. Louis where her mum is as well, and so there are the various things that happened to her, some of which are really quite traumatizing. Talks about race in the 1930s and also paedophilia and sexual assault. So that's why I say it's hard to say I enjoyed it, but I did really enjoy the writing style. Absolutely gorgeous. She's a masterful writer, and I also felt like she's really funny. Like the comedy of this book that is so has so much darkness and tragedy in it. It really stands out how funny it is and how all of her characters really stand out. They are wonderful portraits of, for example, her grandma and her brother. They are all really well drawn and feel really come to life. It did remind me a lot of like early 20th century American children's books that I've read, and I think that's probably because it is child characters, but it obviously deals with a lot darker topics than children's books generally do. I don't know why it didn't quite make a 5-star for me. I feel like the difference between like a 4.5 and a 5 is literally just a feeling, rather than anything technically wrong with the book, for the most part for me, and I just didn't quite get that 5-star feeling from it. Okay, question number 3 is, have you given any books 1 star so far this year? If not, what was your least favourite book? And I think I might actually have given out some 1 stars already this year. I don't know what's been up with my reading, but apparently it's not been good. Oh no 1 stars, but one 1.5 star. And that was La Bastarda by Trifonia Melibea Obono, which was translated from Spanish by Lawrence Schimmel. And this is a book set in Equatorial Guinea, about a queer girl in Equatorial Guinea. It very speedily went through the plot and there was no character development whatsoever, and the writing was very awkward. It's the first book to have been translated by a woman from Equatorial Guinea, which is obviously a great achievement, and it talks about LGBTQ plus themes, which, coming from Equatorial Guinea, I think it's illegal there. So it is a important book, but the actual quality of the writing and the quality of the story, I really just couldn't give it more than 1.5 stars, unfortunately. Question number 4 is, which genre have you read so far this year, and is that normal for you? So are you reading outside of your comfort zone, or are you firmly in your comfort zone? I find for myself, generally speaking, the start of the year always ends up being right in my comfort zone, and it is the further I go throughout the year, I want to try and experiment with different things. If I look at the genres on Storygraph, my most read genre so far this year is literary fiction. I think normally my most read genre is historical fiction, which is my second most read genre, but literary and literary historical are the books that I do tend to gravitate towards. I think probably one of the reasons it is literary this year is because I read Booktubers' favourites, and it was literary fiction booktube that I was picking from. I'll leave that video in the cards above if you haven't seen it, but yeah, several of those books are from that. Historical, I have read 6 historical fiction books so far this year, which is fewer than I would have expected out of my 25. I would have expected more of that. I've read a science book. That's the most surprising thing on here. Braiding Sweetgrass. Oh yeah, okay. That is a science book. Question number 5 is a book that has surprised you. You either weren't expecting to like and did, or a book you really were expecting to love and didn't. Whichever way you prefer to look at it, but a book that surprised you. Possibly The Magician by Colm Tóibín, which is another book that I really loved this year. It tells the story of Thomas Mann, who was a historical fiction writer from Germany in the late 19th, but mostly the early 20th century, up until the middle of the 20th century, and he fled Germany during Nazi occupation because his wife was Jewish. But he was also a gay man, and it's about his experience of that growing up, his experience of living that and writing. And I've never read any Thomas Mann. I'm not familiar at all with him or his life story until I read this book. I've never read any Colm Tóibín either, so it was entirely a new experience for me, and I didn't know what to think going in. I'd always been intending to read Colm Tóibín, but I really was wowed by the language and the writing style. I thought was so lovely. It felt effortless, and I really prefer that. I'm impressed when writing can feel effortless, because I've read so many books where things feel just a little awkward or like they're trying too hard, but I didn't feel that from Tóibín at all. And I also thought that his character development and the way that he talked about ideas and allowing of Thomas Mann to be a really fully fleshed out human character when he is someone who's super important as a classic literary writer, managed to write this sort of non-judgmental way, and it's also a book with loads of really great characters, like the whole family, everyone. I love kind of an ensemble book, a book with weird families that don't quite get on, but they kind of work around that. That is something that I really appreciate in fiction, and it's not something that I've realised that that's something I love, but I did love it when I was reading The Magician. Question number 6 is a book that's come out in 2022 already that you haven't read but you want to. So a book that came out in January, February or March at this point in 2022 and you haven't read yet. I should probably go and get my proofs for this because I've got loads. Okay, so I know the question only asked for one, and I've got way more than one here, so I'm going to try and do them in just a 1-sentence overview. But I have The Gifts by Liz Hyder, and this is historical fiction about a woman who turns up in the UK with wings, and then her wings fall off. Very excited. We have Mother's Boy by Patrick Gale, and this one's was out on the 24th of February, this one came out on the 1st of March, and this is about a historical novel of Cornwall, class, desire, and 2 world wars. There you go. This one's interesting. This is Scary Monsters by Michelle de Crista, and you can read it this way or you can read it this way. And this was published on the 6th of January. This is set in between a near future Australia and a 1980s Australia about people who've immigrated from Asia to Australia. I also have Harrow by Joy Williams, and this one is about a girl whose mother believed she was destined for greatness, but then her mother dies and she turns up at a resort on the shores of a mysterious putrid lake the elderly residents call Big Girl. Very exciting. I love the cover. Then Devotion. I know one of you said this was your first 5-star read of the year, so excited for that. This is by Hannah Kent, came out in February, and is about 2 German girls travelling to Australia to escape religious persecution, and they are queer. I've got These Days by Lucy Caldwell, picked up purely because Hilary Mantel is on the front, and also because it's set in Belfast. In April 1941, it is about the bombing of Belfast and about the sisters Emma and Audrey, one who's engaged to be married, the other in a secret relationship with another woman. I also have The Betrayed, Riene Arcake Melvin. She is a Filipino-American writer, and this is set in the time of the dictatorship and political upheaval in the Philippines. Tells the story of 2 sisters who love the same man. And then finally, the final proof that I haven't read yet is Here Again Now by Okachukwu Nzelu, and this one is a novel of fathers, sons, friends and lovers. A novel about masculinity, love and grief, about 2 young Nigerian British gay boys living in Manchester who've always been more than friends, and now it feels they are on the cusp of finally admitting this to each other. So yeah, excited for that one, actually quite a lot. So there you go. Those are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books that have already come out in 2022 that I'm excited about reading. Question number 7. I'm so bad at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is one goal that you made for the year that you were already succeeding at. Or at which you are already succeeding. Well, look, I can't remember my goals. This is part of the reason I'm making this video, because I am so bad at remembering what the goals I set actually were, and it's hard to stick to the goals if you don't know what goals you made. I didn't write them down. Of course I didn't, because that would have been too helpful. Okay, so I just looked at my goals, and one of the goals that I think I am actually achieving so far this year was my goal was to read more poetry. Last year I read 3 poetry collections, and so far this year I have read 3 poetry collections. So I'm actually doing a job of keeping up with the poetry. I read Crow by Ted Hughes, which I didn't really love, didn't speak to me. I read Ultimatum Orangutan by Kurani Baraka, and I loved some of those poems. Some of those poems didn't work for me as well, but I really loved their turn of phrase, so I will talk about that more in another video, my wrap up for this month. And then I also read Honorifics by Cynthia Miller, and I like that one, I think, the best out of all of the 3 that I've read so far. So if I stop reading poetry now, I won't have read more poetry, but hopefully I will keep up with that goal. And I'm quite pleased about that. Now, question number 8, I think that's where we were, was one goal you made that you need to focus on. So I think I haven't actually checked out in terms of my reading more diversely, reading more books by disabled authors. I have been focusing on, I just don't think I've like fully succeeded at it yet, but I have been paying attention to that. So I don't think that one's a problem. I think maybe the one I need to focus on is reading less, because I'm still trying to like read so that there is stuff on this channel, and I'm trying to read. The books that I'm reading are books that I want to read and books that I hope I will enjoy reading. It's just about that like speed at which I'm trying to read is something that I still think I need to sort of recalibrate and work on that. Trying to be too ambitious, I think, sometimes with the amount of reading I'm trying to do. So yeah, I think maybe I need to continue to focus on reading fewer books, or like intentionally reading fewer books, because I feel like I'm piling on myself and then actually reading fewer books because I'm overwhelmed rather than by choice. And then the final question of my tag is new to you booktubers / bookstagrammers / booktokers, whichever book audiences you want to talk about for 2022 that you recommend. So I have recently found some new booktubers. I've never really done a booktubers I recommend video, so the booktubers that are new to me, I don't think any of them are particularly like super new to the book world. Would say Claire Reads Books, who I have discovered fairly recently. She's a bigger channel than me, so I'm sure lots of you will have discovered her before, but I really enjoy the way she talks about books. She's very thoughtful and considered in the way she talks, and she reads a lot of like Balkan and Eastern European literature, which I think is really interesting. EKG is another one. Again, I think, yeah, again, a slightly bigger channel than me, so you might have discovered her, but she's very thoughtful, which I think is the thing that I'm most looking for. I really enjoy the way she talks about books, and she's also really soft-spoken and just really lovely to watch. Pretty Bookish, who I followed for ages on Bookstagram because she does really beautiful Bookstagram photos and things, but I didn't realise somehow that she has a YouTube channel, and I really enjoy her. Very enthusiastic, very funny, and also travel vlogs that are really, really gorgeous, really well done. So I read this book, who is a Kiwi booktuber, who I know other people have talked about before. That's how I discovered their channel, but yeah, very sort of litfic, thoughtful, very slow moving. Not that she's slow, sorry, I didn't mean that, but very like lots of great recommendations and lots of great thoughts about the books that she is reading. So there you go, those are 4 booktubers who are fairly new to me, and if you haven't seen them before, I hope you enjoy them. Like I said, I'm gonna tag some people down below, but please let me know if you do this video. I would love to watch it, and thank you for watching. Please remember to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and to subscribe. I put out new videos twice a week, so I will see you again very soon. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.